After years of forced possession, I developed amnesia. Staring at the gaunt, emaciated woman in the bronze mirror, I asked in disbelief, is this skeletal, ghost-like person really me? The capital's #1 beauty, who once adored elegance and charm, had been tormented into a mere skeleton. Fuming with rage, I went to confront the mastermind behind it all. But there he stood by the moon gate, tall and slender, with a strikingly handsome face and eyes dark as deep water. Gazing calmly at me, my knees went weak inexplicably. So handsome, royal father. The little one beside him tugged at his hand, pretending to be composed as he asked, "Royal mother seems in good spirits today. Will she hold me? Who knows?" He replied with a faintly mocking expression. "She certainly won't be holding your father, that's for sure." Waking from sleep, I'd gone from a blossoming young maiden to the regent's princess, and one taken by forced possession, no less. My childhood maid, weeping and sobbing, told me I was originally married to my childhood's sweetheart cousin, but the regent prince took a fancy to me and forcibly claimed his subject's wife, forcing me to bear his child and locking me in bedchambers to torment me day after day. Moreover, the night before my amnesia, I had just stabbed that regent prince with a hairpin. He's still lying in bed unconscious to this day. A perfect opportunity to escape. The maid tugged at my sleeve, her gaze resolute. "Miss, let's run away. Let's find young Master Shun and wander the world together." Me, pushing the maid's hand away, I collapsed straight back onto the bed, closed my eyes, wishing desperately it were all just a dream. Eyes closed, eyes open, still the same phoenix, embroidered canopy, and the maid's tear-filled eyes. I heaved a heavy sigh, about to pull the maid aside to ask for details, when I spotted a pale, soft little dumpling standing by the door, wearing a jade hairpin, tiny fists clenched, eyes brimming with tears. "Mother, are you leaving? Take me with you, please. I'll be good. I eat very little. I won't be a burden." I froze for a moment, still processing, when the maid beside me screamed, "Princess, who allowed you in here? Are the guards all dead?" She strode over, roughly grabbing the back of her collar and shoving her out. The child's porcelain-like face flushed red from the choking, flailing helplessly as tears streamed down like broken pearls, desperate and shattered. "Quinn." I rushed from the bed and hugged the child, frowning as I scolded. "What are you doing? She's so young. Miss, you were the one who said you didn't want to see. Enough. You may withdraw for now." Quinn had been my maid since childhood. I should have been familiar with her, but since waking up this time, I felt an inexplicable resistance. Keeping my doubts to myself, I crouched down and gently stroked the sobbing girl's bowed head, softening my voice. "Whose child are you? What's your name? How old are you?" Her sobbing ceased. Her dark grape-like eyes widened, staring at me dazedly and confusedly for a moment before she burst into loud wails, crying as she ran out while lifting her skirt, shouting loudly, "Royal father, mother doesn't want me anymore. Royal father." The child's cries resulted in a crowd squeezing into my already small hall. There were guards, eunuchs in crimson robes, and palace maids wearing silk flowers. There was also a young boy in a python robe, about half a person's height, wearing a jade crown, patiently wiping the tears from the little girl's face and soothing her gently. Only after finally calming the girl did he turn to me, a flicker of sorrow in his clear eyes. "Mother, I know you miss Lord Shun and resent father, but sister is still young and doesn't understand things. How could you say you don't want her in front of her?" I didn't say that, no matter how confused I was. In this scene, I vaguely understood some things and flusteredly tried to explain. "I've just forgotten everything. It's amnesia. Do you understand? I truly remember nothing, recognize no one. I really didn't mean to make her cry. I know nothing at all." The boy froze, his expression growing graver. "Summon the imperial physician from the palace." He paused, then added, "Also, report to father at the main courtyard. The father of these two children is the regent prince whom Quinn mentioned, the one who took me from my cousin. Logically, since he went through the trouble of taking me, he ought to care for me deeply. Yet, even after the imperial physician spent a long time checking my pulse, there was no sign of him. The little girl was carried away by the palace, made to sleep. The little boy sat upright on the nearby daybed, his dark python robe flowing loosely, looking precociously solemn. Only his small, clenched fists and trembling shoulders betrayed a child's fear and panic. Imperial physician, what's wrong with mother? Do not fret. Heir apparent. Her Highness the Princess Consort is unharmed. She merely suffers temporary amnesia and will recover in time. The imperial physician stroked his beard, prescribed several doses of medicine, then bowed and withdrew. The little boy breathed a sigh of relief. I tilted my head to study him, his tender face and round eyes, with that fair complexion framed by the dark python robe, created a rather incongruous and comical effect. So, are you my son? I scrambled off the bed and ran up to him, bending down to cup his smooth cheeks in my hands, exclaiming in an exaggerated tone, I actually gave birth to such a big baby. The carefully maintained composure on his little face began to crack. He instinctively leaned back, frowning as he called out, Mother, what's your name? I asked with a smile, stroking his head. His voice faltered, his gaze lingering on my arms for a moment before he murmured, Your son, Henry G. What a lovely name. Since mother is well, your son must go for his lessons with royal father. The praise made him slightly uncomfortable, his cheeks flushing pink as he turned his head away, hopping off the couch and clenching his fist to make his exit. As I held his head down, I'll go with you. I paused. Come to think of it, I haven't seen your royal father since I woke up. That scoundrel, my so-called husband, who forced possession and drove me to become a skeleton. I'm curious to see just how hideous this man looks, to make me prefer death over loving him. I imagine the regent prince must be like those treacherous, vile old men described in books, saggy skin, always farting, reeking of old age. With that image of my husband in mind, I took a deep breath, held the little boy's hand, and let him lead the way. Along the path, I craned my neck, spotting a butterfly on a vibrant peony and excitedly pointed it out, only to earn the boy's resigned pursed lips. Mother, why are you more childlike than my little sister? I sheepishly rubbed my head. Arriving at the study room, we were welcomed inside. My eyes fell upon towering bookshelves and the faint scent of aged ink and an extremely handsome man, tall and slender with a handsome face. His jet black hair gathered by a jade crown cascaded to his waist, while a dark python robe hugged his lean yet powerful frame, trim and imposing. I was momentarily spellbound. It wasn't until the child respectfully called out, Royal Father. The man hummed in acknowledgement, set down the letter in his hand, and lifted his gaze to me. What brings you here? Me? You're the regent prince? So young and so handsome. He looked at me, not particularly surprised. The imperial physician mentioned you've forgotten everything about me. His tone wasn't harsh, just low and resonant, his dark eyes fixed on me, radiating an inexplicable, overwhelming authority. It reminded me of when my brother and I were made to kneel in the ancestral hall by our father after doodling caricatures of our stern tutor in class. I hunched my shoulders slightly and nodded. He gave a slight nod and gestured for the child to leave. Once the child had withdrawn and the door closed, all warmth vanished from his expression. He looked at me, his eyes now sharp and icy cold. I don't care if you truly have amnesia or are scheming to mock me again. You may cause chaos anywhere in the manor, but harming Hunger and Shinger is my absolute bottom line. If you dare use the children for your schemes again, don't blame me for showing no mercy. I'll have your cousin skinned and dismembered. Understood? His description was gruesome. His tone was ruthless. Yet, inexplicably, I felt little fear, as if accustomed to it from the past, knowing that even at his angriest, this man was merely a paper tiger. All bark and no bite. I blinked, pondered for a moment, then lifted my gaze with sparkling eyes and softly called out, Husband. His icy expression froze. Frowning deeply, he snapped, Stop deluding yourself with these absurd tricks. I won't be fooled by you again. He's so fierce. It's rather baffling. What trick did I even play? I merely called him husband once. Why did I get scolded for it? I wanted to be angry, but looking at his face, I just couldn't summon any rage. Beautiful people remain beautiful even when they're scolding someone. His furrowed brows didn't diminish his beauty, but rather added a touch of sorrow to his sharp features, with blazing fury in his eyes that made my heart ache intensely. Don't be so fierce. I twisted my fingers and whispered, I'm just a little hungry. Husband, even if I've done wrong, at least let me die with a full stomach. He seemed even angrier, sweeping the inkstone off the table with his hand. Striding toward me, he bent down, forcing me to sit in the Grand Tutor's chair, his legs trapping me, his python robe falling open, the strong scent of ambergris incense filling the air between us. His voice was harsh, yet tinged with a hint of grievance. You're seducing me again. What is it this time? Begging for an official post for your brother? Or pleading for me to spare your cousin's family? In your eyes, am I really that cheap? That I'd willingly become your dog with just a beckon? Let me tell you, dream on. I was baffled. When did I ever seduce you? I was just hungry and wanted something to eat. This body is as thin as a skeleton. I find it ugly myself and just want to nourish it properly. How could that be seductive? His breathing grew heavier as he stared intently into my eyes, his pupils reflecting the fine hairs on the tip of my nose. After a long moment, he gripped my chin and kissed me with gritted teeth. No, it wasn't a kiss. He was biting me, fiercely, violently, viciously, as if I were a hated enemy, sinking his teeth into my lips. Our mouths were soaked in blood. In agony, I sobbed and pushed him away, my eyes filled with resentment. But seeing his demon-like expression, I cowered and didn't dare make a sound, muttering as I wiped the blood from my lips with a handkerchief. I wanted to punch him, but suddenly noticed the dark stain soaking through his clothes at the waist, dripping blood steadily. My eyes widened. You're bleeding. All thanks to you. He rose coldly, wiping the blood from the corner of his mouth, his tone sarcastic. You performed well today. I'll spare your cousin and his family, but if you ever try to run away with him again, don't blame me for showing no mercy. I wasn't paying attention to what he was saying. Pushing him into a chair, I anxiously called for someone to fetch the doctor. How is there so much blood? Clutching the only part of his clothing not soaked in blood, I knelt panic-stricken on the floor, trembling before him. Why, isn't the doctor here yet? You won't die, right? There's so much blood. It's terrifying. Woo! His threatening words halted. After a moment, he lowered his gaze, meeting my teary, sincere, and deeply worried eyes. He raised his arm and patted my head. His tone softened once more. Do you truly have amnesia? Why else? I found him baffling. Would I lie to you for fun? He gave an eerie smile, spreading his large hand open as I rested my head on his palm, watching in terror as blood dripped down. My family has been generations of scholarly officials, where the harshest punishment was kneeling in the ancestral hall for a few days. I had never seen so much blood before. With this much blood loss, can a person even survive? I looked up at him, my face full of concern, yet I met his dark gaze, flickering in the lingering glow of the fierce sun. It seemed frenzied, mocking, like a venomous serpent in the dead of night, baring its fangs at me, contemplating how to devour me whole. I instinctively stumbled backward. A belated resistance surged within me. Indeed, I wasn't afraid of him. In fact, because of his appearance, I couldn't help but feel fondness from the moment we met. Yet deep in my subconscious, there's a deranged version of myself, a madwoman who'd rather starve to skin and bones than compromise or yield, clutching me tightly, forbidding me from drawing close to him, as if yielding to him would be a betrayal of the self who once endured such agony. Bewildered, I slumped to the floor, staring at the pool of dripping blood, unable to comprehend what exactly happened over these past 10 years. I watched as the imperial physician bandaged his wound. Belatedly, I recalled Quinn telling me that the previous night I had stabbed him with a hairpin. So this injury, it couldn't possibly be from me, could it? Guiltily, I rubbed my nose, thinking to myself how remarkable I'd become. once too timid to even step on a grasshopper, now daring enough to attempt murder. Your Highness, the consort, His Highness must avoid getting this wound wet, and must not succumb to anger, lest it aggravate old injuries and hinder full recovery. Oh, His Highness must not be provoked to anger. Please remember this, Your Highness. The imperial physician reiterated with great concern, eyeing me warily, as if I were some beast threatening His Highness. I was displeased. Then you should tell him that. I'm not a mind reader. How could I possibly stop him from getting angry? Besides, Your Highness is the regent prince. If I had the power to anger him, he'd have had me executed long ago. Your Majesty, Enough. You may leave now. The man on the bed spoke in a low, heavy tone, his back exposed, revealing bandages wrapped around his waist and abdomen. Beneath the white cloth, the outline of his lean, powerful form was faintly visible. His bronze skin was marked with gruesome blade scars, yet they added a rugged, battlefield, honed beauty. Stop staring, noticing my gaze fixed on the scar on his chest. He seemed somewhat uncomfortable. He pulled the quilt over himself and instructed the eunuch nearby, summon Hunger and Shinger. Have the meals served. Are Hunger and Shinger the names of your precious ones? He gave a slight nod. Henry G. Astra G. G is the imperial surname. I paused briefly, pursed my lips, and poked his arm somewhat sheepishly. Then what's your name? Perhaps accustomed to his high status, he seemed unaccustomed to such direct questioning. He opened his mouth, hesitating to speak, but he answered me nonetheless. E.N.G. My mind went blank with shock. E.N.G. Isn't that the 9th prince, born of the noble consort? Before the noble consort's affair, he was the emperor's most favored prince, chubby as a ball, yet fair, skinned like a glutinous rice dumpling. I used to love teasing him. After the affair, he became a prince of dubious lineage, cast into the cold palace to fend for himself. Out of pity, I sent him quilts a few times and begged my aunt, the Empress Dowager, to look after him, but that was the extent of our connection. Him, how did he become so thin now? He's nothing like his former self. I didn't recognize him at all. Perhaps my astonishment was too obvious. He looked at me indifferently. I know what you want to say. Keep your mouth shut. I don't want to hear it. I pouted. All this the monarch nonsense. Does it burn your tongue to say even an emperor calling himself? We all day would get mocked by his ministers. My father mocked it plenty at home, saying the emperor was putting on airs. I scratched my head and chuckled. 2 little treasures came over, bowed properly, and called out in their tender voices, "Greetings, royal father and royal mother." The girl was adorable as jade and snow, with 2 double, spiral hairstyles atop her head adorned with jade crabapple flowers, dressed in pink robes, her eyes like glass beads. The boy still wore a stern expression, holding an unfinished scroll, his small python robe neatly pressed, his face full of childishness. I watched them with fascination. Even now, it still doesn't feel quite real. I actually gave birth to 2 such big babies. Perhaps my gaze was too intense. The boy uncomfortably turned his face away, but the girl took small steps forward, nervously twisting her fingers as she looked up and said, "Mother, may you hold me?" I froze. It wasn't unwillingness, but in my eyes, a child wanting to hug their mother shouldn't require asking at all, just like how I, no matter how old, could always nestle in my own mother's arms anytime. But why did these 2 children? I bent down and picked up the porcelain, doll, like girl, cheek to cheek, nuzzling her face. "Of course you can, sweetheart. You can hug me whenever and for however long you want. Mother." She trembled in my embrace, her small body shaking as she sobbed and wept, calling out mother over and over. My heart ached abruptly. Waves of bitterness surged from deep within, along with much self-blame and shame. Though I'd lost my memories, my mind still retained its instincts. I loved these 2 children dearly. I was certain of it. But if I loved them, why did I deliberately neglect them? Quinn said I disliked them, wished I'd never given birth to them, was indifferent to them, never prepared birthday gifts for them, and even preferred my elder brother's nephew over them. But, Shinger, E.N.G. got off the bed, patted the girl's head, and said in a somber tone, "Wipe your face, and let's eat. Your royal mother is hungry." Okay. The girl was very obedient. Sniffling, she climbed off me, let the palace maid wipe her face clean, and then climbed onto a specially made stool to sit properly. The boy did the same. I sat down as well, my mind originally full of worries. But at the sight of the lavish spread on the table, I couldn't help but gasp in delight. My mind was now occupied only by the delicious food. No matter how pressing the matters were, they'd have to wait until after I finished eating. This looks like radish, but it tastes like chicken. This peony is actually carved from a radish. So exquisite. The chicken soup is delicious. And these buns are amazing too. Oh my goodness, it's truly delicious. I've never had such a wonderful meal. I must go see the chef tomorrow and find out what kind of genius can make soup dumplings this tasty. Excited, I kept commenting on each dish as I ate. The room was filled with my nonstop chatter. The other three, and even the palace attendants standing all around, were completely silent, serving dishes, arranging plates, without making a single sound. At first, I didn't think anything was wrong, until a maid serving behind Ian G couldn't help but speak up. "Your Highness, the Crown Prince prefers silence during meals." I paused for a moment, then belatedly scratched my head. Do I talk too much? At my family's table, we always chat back and forth about the food, friends, fun stories. Otherwise, what's the point of just eating? But I also understand respecting his habits. So I just put down my chopsticks dejectedly. "Then I won't eat with you anymore, so I don't annoy you." His chopsticks paused mid-air, the bamboo shoot tip glistening emerald with moisture. He placed the shoot on the plate, wiped his hands, and turned to me. I said nothing. "Don't you dislike people talking during meals?" He took a deep breath and waved his hand. Imperial guards immediately emerged to drag the talkative maid away. I stared in stunned silence. "Wait, she, 30 cane strikes." Then to the Ministry of Punishment. He served me another steamed bun and said gently, "I know you're kind-hearted. Don't worry, her life will be spared." I hesitated. Words caught in my throat. Ian G cut me off. "You are now the Regent's princess. Your dignity is inviolable. Right or wrong, no maid may challenge you. Do not plead for her." He paused, his gaze softening as he added, "Besides, I never believed you were at fault." Perhaps he felt that a bit more chatter wasn't such a bad thing. The vast regent prince's estate was too quiet, silent as the cold palace. Even with a child present, it hardly felt like a home, which is to say, it just needed a talkative beauty like me to liven things up. I stopped trying to persuade him and proudly lifted my chin, grinning like a rooster that had won a fight, eagerly placing a steamed dumpling on his plate. "Try it. It's really delicious." I noticed earlier that he ate far too little, just a few grains of rice per bite, showing little interest in the feast before him. "That's not good for your health. Have a taste. It's truly delicious." I widened my eyes, gazing at him eagerly, full of anticipation. Under my sparkling stare, he stiffly picked up the dumpling, ate it in small, careful bites, then rigidly set down his chopsticks and nodded. "Delicious." Suddenly, a choked sob came from nearby. It was the eldest among them, the steward, a white-haired elderly man. It's been a long time since His Highness has eaten with such an appetite. This old servant is overjoyed to see it. He scurried out with a whimper, leaving everyone in the room utterly bewildered. I hesitated. Words caught in my throat. Ian G massaged his forehead and explained. "Uncle Joe is rather sentimental by nature. Pay it no mind." "Oh." I nodded, my eyes darting thoughtfully as I ladled another bowl of soup, eagerly offering it to him with a bright smile. Then, to make the old gentleman happy, "My lord, do have a bit more." After finishing the meal, I rubbed my full belly contentedly and thought to return to my own courtyard. But I accidentally got lost. The regent prince's estate was too vast, with scarcely a soul on the paths, not even a servant to ask for directions. Wandering aimlessly, I followed a peony-lined path and stumbled upon a rockery, unsure where I'd ended up. Behind the rockery stood a man in white robes, hands clasped behind his back, watching me with a gentle smile. I breathed a sigh of relief. Perfect. I can ask for directions. I lifted my skirts and hurried toward him. His smile broadened as he spread his arms, adopting a posture as if to draw me into an embrace. Closing his eyes slightly with an intoxicated expression, something fell off. I slowed my approach, studying his face for a long moment before hesitantly saying, Shinzue? That's so, called childhood sweetheart cousin of mine, the man Quinn called my first husband, the adulterer E&G, loath to the bone yet could never touch. Truthfully, I never particularly liked him, though decent looking and from a respectable family. He wasn't exceptional among the nobility gathered in the capital. As the capital's #1 beauty, I was naturally proud. Even childhood friends had to be kept waiting while I carefully weighed my options. I couldn't imagine loving him so desperately that I'd wither to a skeleton for a reckless elopement. But these were thoughts for another time. The pressing question was, how did he get in here? The Regent Prince's mansion was supposedly guarded as tightly as a fortress, with fierce imperial guards armed with blades at every corner, recalling the deserted path where no one answered my calls earlier, and E&G's shattered expression when I left. In an instant, I understood. That bastard was testing me. He still didn't believe my amnesia was real. Perhaps he thought I was still deceiving him, using gentle words to lull him into lowering his guard, just waiting for a chance to escape. I gritted my teeth. Ching-ching, seeing I hadn't rushed forward. Shinzue opened his eyes. Looking puzzled, he hurried over and asked in a low voice, Did you get the tiger tally? Tiger tally? Yes, the tiger tally. E&G harbors treacherous ambitions, sidelining the new emperor and plotting to usurp the throne, a crime deserving death. The Shun and Shui families have always been loyal to the emperor. We must not let him succeed. He gripped my arm tightly. My dear, once I get the tiger tally, I'll take you away. By then, E&G will be dead, and we can travel across this magnificent land together, with no regrets left. But his security is tight. Where would I even find the tiger tally? It's impossible. I waved my hand dismissively and tried to leave. He grabbed my wrist again, his voice urgent. Last time, you clearly said the tiger tally was hidden in a secret compartment in his study, and you'd already found its location, that you'd retrieve it soon. Why are you backing out now? Realizing he was too forceful, he softened his expression and lowered his voice. My dear, I'm doing this for our future. Only with E&G gone can we be together freely. He only sees you as a plaything, a courtesan. Don't be fooled by him. I'm the one who truly cares for you, the right man for you. You understand, don't you? I offered an awkward smile, unsure of what to say. E&G must be watching from some dark corner right now, probably already planning how to end both him and me. If I truly intended to betray him, that would be one thing. But now, with all memories lost, I feel an inexplicable grievance at being unfairly blamed. I sighed. You've really changed. What? You've gained weight. Your face looks fuller. I can see your double chin, and your stomach has grown. You should eat less in daily life. He instinctively straightened his back and sucked in his stomach, accidentally letting out a fart in the process, nearly losing his composure. Why say this so suddenly? Ching-ching? If you truly wanted to take me away, why use the tiger tally as a condition? If not, why string me along? I concluded. So, you're just using me to get the tiger tally and secure a share of the merit for supporting the new emperor. His face contorted instantly. I didn't want to talk to him anymore. His current ugly appearance and shoddy schemes made me feel that my pre-amnesia self must have been under some spell, and it left me deeply unhappy. I turned to leave, but he gripped my wrist tightly, refusing to let go. Ching-ching, you can't do this. We clearly agreed. Swish. An arrow shot out from behind the rockery with incredible speed, piercing through his arm and bone. The immense force sent him staggering backward, pinning him against the banyan tree behind him as he let out a pig. Like screech, gushing blood soaked half my robe, the sound of shattering bones echoing repeatedly. E&G stepped out slowly from behind the rockery. His gaze was clear and sharp, yet he didn't seem angry. Instead, he waved at me cheerfully. Come here. I blinked, feeling both scared and annoyed. Gritting my teeth, I stomped my foot and shouted at him. Do you even know how to treat a lady with care? How could you let a beauty see blood? So much blood. It's disgusting. This dress is ruined now. I really didn't want to deal with him. Instead, he chuckled softly, walking toward me and wiping the blood droplets from my cheek with his thumb. His voice was low and husky. I don't care if your amnesia is real or just an act to deceive me. This way is just fine. Keep up this act, and I'll ensure your brother's path to success remains unobstructed. He leaned in, capturing my lips with his, grinding them like he was gnawing on a piece of meat, letting out obscene. The feeling of intoxication was fully displayed before everyone. Flustered and angry, I tried to push him away, but he only held me tighter. Gone was his earlier dominance. Now, he trembled, helpless, despairing, and sobbed in a whisper. I admit it. Do whatever you want. Take whatever revenge. I'll accept it all. Just keep pretending, even if it's a lie. Make it last a little longer. Okay, darling, have pity on me. Don't leave me. Without you, I'd truly die. Cradled in his arms, I blinked, about to speak, when Shinzue's muffled pleas for help sounded beside us. Instinctively, I glanced toward the noise. E&G let out a cold laugh, raised his hand and swung the blade, the tip embedded in the tree, right beside Shinzue's neck. Shinzue's eyes rolled back, and he fainted, scared into incontinence. Dark stains spread across his trousers. Why are you looking at him? Still thinking about him? Still planning to elope? Let me tell you, dream on. If you displease me, I'll kill him. If you deceive me, you must deceive me for a lifetime. Or else. Heh. His mood darkened again, his gaze suddenly turning fierce. His pitch, black eyes fixed unblinkingly on me, like a starved beast with gleaming green eyes, greedy and obsessive. Me. I coughed lightly. Don't be so fierce. The imperial physician said you mustn't get angry. What if your wound splits open again? He glared coldly at me, watching me tilt my head up, sweetly smiling at him. I pitched my voice higher, soft and coquettish, dripping with sweetness as I called out, "Husband, don't you tempt me." His breathing grew ragged, his sharp profile turning away as he struggled to speak. Don't tempt me. I won't kill him now. I paused, feeling a bit amused. If he can't handle this now, what will he do when I actually use the seductive tricks from those storybooks to charm my man? He'd go mad. After all, the storybooks I've read are full of scenes like fair, skinned legs parting, beckoning lovers to indulge in passionate lovemaking. I put on a hurt expression. I'm not seducing you. I'm a proper lady from a good family. Don't slander me. Husband. My fingertips traced his handsome face, from his flushed eyelids, to the tip of his straight nose, down to his dry lips. I licked my lips. Husband, can I pat your head? No. He turned away uncomfortably. Don't pat me like I'm a dog. But you're my husband. How could you be a dog? I shook his arm, pleading. Husband, I want to touch you. Please. Pretty please. He pressed his lips together, glancing nervously at the imperial guards around us. Not here, with so many people watching. Husband, lower your head. I can't reach the top. His voice trailed off. After a long pause, he took a deep breath, shot me a resentful glare, his beautiful eyes full of grievance, and reluctantly lowered his head. A little lower. I still can't reach it. Don't you push your luck. He looked up angrily, just meeting my sparkling eyes. His unfinished words stuck in his throat. The displeasure in his eyes vanished instantly, replaced by an indescribable mix of bashfulness and delight. Forget it. I won't argue with you, he mumbled as he bowed his head, bending over like a big bear, presenting his fluffy crown before me. He muttered softly, full of grievance. You always pick on me, just like long ago, that chubby little dumpling I used to tease, glaring fiercely, warning me sternly, yet ultimately helplessly indulging me as I pinched his cheeks into an O shape. I burst out laughing. The little one inside me twirled triumphantly. A beauty is always surrounded by admirers, making each of them feel uniquely favored, without inciting rivalry, is an essential skill for any beauty. and I happen to be the most peerless of beauties. Handling him is a piece of cake. I persuaded ENG to go out with me. I initially wondered why he agreed so readily, until our four-horse carriage left the estate, flanked by 2 squads of Imperial guards, their blades gleaming, solemn and imposing. I was speechless but said nothing, deciding to browse a jewelry shop first. "Is your highness selecting gifts for the princess and the heir apparent?" Noticing my good mood, the palace maid cautiously brought up. "The princess and heir apparent are twins. Last year, you missed their birthday banquet, and both young masters were deeply saddened for quite some time." I paused while choosing a hairpin. "When are their birthdays?" "Next month." I pursed my lips, picked 2 jade hairpins in the shop, yet felt it wasn't heartfelt enough. Thinking of the peachwood hairpin I carved with my own hands as a child. "I'll go back and make one for each of them myself." Just as I stepped out of the shop, I heard a familiar, crisp call. Ching ching. It was my dearest childhood friend, Yvonne Du. She ran over, linked arms with me, and leaned close to my ear. Before I could speak, she anxiously blurted out first, "You finally left the mansion. If you hadn't come out soon, I would have gone to the Regent Prince's residence to find you. What about that lover you've been keeping at my place?" "My husband is about to find out. When are you taking him away?" My ready-made pleasantries for catching up died in my throat. I felt as if struck by lightning. I well knew that a beauty ought to have her own pond of admirers. The number of fish in that pond is proof of a beauty's charm. But that doesn't mean, after choosing a powerful husband of high status, she should cuckold him. I could really end up drowned in a pig cage for this. I sat dumbfounded in the tavern, staring at the man kneeling before me, the one Yvonne had brought over. Her demeanor was gentle and delicate, with a waist so slender it seemed one could encircle it with a single hand. Her eyes brimmed with tears, evoking pity and tenderness in anyone who saw her. I don't know his background either. I only know that half a year ago, you brought him to me and begged me to take good care of him, saying he was someone very important to you. Yvonne Du spread her hands. Now I've brought him to you. It's up to you to decide what to do. My husband has grown suspicious and started investigating that villa. I really can't keep hiding him for you any longer." With that, she stood up and hurried away, flustered and anxious, as if discarding a hot potato. I struggled to steady my nerves, picked up the teacup, and took a sip. "You, madam, you haven't come to find me for so long. Have you forgotten about me?" Tears welled in his eyes as he sobbed, kneeling and crawling toward me. While crawling, he began undressing, his slender fingers unbuttoning his clothes to reveal a pale chest. I know well that only this body of mine can barely keep madam's favor. I beg for your mercy and care. My fingers had already started trembling, given how practiced this seems. Have he and I already slept together? Madam, he knelt beside me, hips arched high, waist dipped low, tracing a captivating curve. Like a little fox, he nuzzled my palm with infatuated cheeks. "I know, well, how deeply you cherish my brother. I've never dared dream of replacing his place in your heart. I only beg you to treat me kindly, even if it costs me my life. I die content." His brother? My mind went numb. I uttered blankly. "So, was I also involved with your brother? How could it be called involved?" His breath suddenly quickened. "You and he were devoted to each other. It was the Regent Prince, that shameless, vile scoundrel, who took my brother's life." He wept, tears falling like rain-soaked pear blossoms. Bare, pale legs pressed against me as his slender fingers clutched my skirt, pleading and pitiful. Before my brother died, his greatest worry was me. "Madam, I beg you to give me a chance to serve. In the arts of lovemaking, I surely won't be worse than that brute Regent Prince." I glanced at his frail frame, wondering if it could withstand even one punch from ENG. Headache, nothing but headache after headache. What to do? Because I'm too beautiful. Every man thinks we're mutually in love. Twin brothers fought over me, and even after one died, he still couldn't forget me. "Wait, who died?" I grabbed his arm. "Who killed your brother?" "That wretched Regent Prince." I abruptly released his arm, sitting on the ground in a daze. At the same moment, the Imperial Guard's boots clattered on the tavern floorboards, kicking the door open with ferocious intent. They rushed in, dragged the man sobbing on top of me away, pressed his head to the ground, and struck his bare buttocks with a sword hilt. A deeply humiliating act. A pair of boots embroidered with golden pythons came into view. Ian crouched down, pinched my chin with his fingertips, his gaze somber. "Why can't you just behave?" His voice was faint, almost ethereal, like a murmur from extreme pain. "Must I kill him too? For you to stay by my side obediently? You didn't kill his brother, right?" I grabbed his arm, trembling as I asked, like clutching at the last lifeline. "He's slandering you. You didn't." "No, of course not." He curled his lips into a smile, the madness and obsession in his eyes solidifying, enveloping me in a desperate abyss. His fingertips traced downward along my brow bone. "My dear, I not only killed his brother, but many others as well. But what else can I do? You're so fond of flirting, and every man you meet falls deeply for you. How can I possibly keep you by my side? The only way is to kill them all, gouge out their eyes, turn them into beads, string them into a necklace, and give it to you as a gift. Only, when you're afraid, will you finally obey?" The smile on his face grew even gentler, yet he stepped forward, pinning my waist between his legs, and untied the jade belt at his waist. Kneeling down, his fingertips traced over my chest, murmuring intimately and lingeringly, "Darling, what's so good about those wild men outside? You're always so disobedient." The Imperial Guards in the room had vanished without a trace at some point. Ian wrapped his arms around my waist, his fingers emerging from the heavy layers of my dress. Coated with a sticky, glistening fluid, he placed them in his mouth, licked them clean, and then let out a satisfied sigh. My face flushed crimson as I was pinned against his lap, my chest heaving, the corners of my eyes misty and glistening with what could be tears or sweat. Yet beneath it all lay a deep confusion and despair. "Now, I understand why I hate you," I whispered softly, "but perhaps I hate myself even more. By nature, I am flirtatious and unrestrained, blessed with striking beauty that captivates all who lay eyes on me. Were I a man, I would surely revel in the pleasure of multiple wives and concubines. But alas, I am a woman. Alas, I may only choose one husband. So I mastered the art of flitting through a garden of admirers without leaving a trace. Seduction became my second nature. I never outright severed anyone's romantic illusions. As long as they didn't confess openly, it remained an ambiguous dance of allure. Even if they grew angry later, it was their own delusion to blame, nothing they could openly accuse me of. This brought me many advantages, but I never imagined it would lead to someone's death. Nor had I ever imagined there would be a madman as unreasonable as Ian who, for the sake of that elusive ambiguity, would go on a killing spree like a rabid dog. I hate him, and I hate myself even more, burdened by profound guilt. So I starved myself, self-harmed, living as miserably as an ascetic monk, eloping, stealing the tiger tally, stabbing him. It felt less like escaping and more like forcing Ian to kill me. Back then, my hands were drenched in blood and sin, and every day was spent in excruciating pain and torment, as if being fried in oil. I truly did not want to live anymore. I opened my mouth and chomped down hard on Ian exposed shoulder, with such force that I wished I could tear off a piece of his flesh. "You bastard, you monster," killing people as if it were slicing melons and chopping vegetables. If not for the heavy burden of sin he placed upon me, why would I forsake the life of a revered regent's princess and seek only death? Bastard, 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 bastard. Bit until I drew blood, but still felt no relief. My gaze drifted downward, narrowing as I stared at that spot rumored to be a man's most vulnerable place. That thing's just soft, mere flesh, probably easy to bite off. Ian instinctively clamped his legs together. He yanked me by the waist, pinning me against his chest, and snarled a warning. "Get all those wild and messy thoughts out of your head." I let out a cold laugh, thrusting my head upward to headbutt him hard. He chuckled, ruffled my hair, and roughly tore open his robes. We wreaked havoc in the private room of the tavern for a full day and night. I cursed him nonstop, cursed him for relying only on brute force, cursed his lousy technique, cursed him for being like a bear, showing no tenderness at all. My voice grew hoarse from yelling. I sobbed, buried my face in his chest, and sniffled while wiping away tears. What should I do? I think I really am a bad person. I know ENG is wicked, that he's killed many people, and that many have died because of me, but now I have amnesia. I don't remember their names, their faces, or how they died. That overwhelming guilt that once brought me to the brink of death. I can no longer feel it now. All I want is a life of luxury, to wear the finest clothes and the most extravagant hairpins. I'm just a shallow beauty. After all, it's as if my conscience has been eaten by dogs. Dejected, I sat in ENG's embrace, our skin touching, and scratched my head in confusion. They were indeed innocent. But I don't want to suffer either. I just want to live well. What on earth should I do? ENG tilted his head and said softly, then just forget. They're just insignificant people. If you don't like or care about them, why grieve for them? I stared at him for a moment, then turned away in distress. This fool who kills like chopping vegetables doesn't understand my inner turmoil and sorrow at all. Disdainfully picking through the items on the ground, he selected a relatively clean outer robe and wrapped me up like a zongzi, then took me back to the manor under cover of night. Don't worry, I won't kill that male vixen. ENG pressed my head, which I had struggled to free, back under the covers and warned me in a hoarse voice. Be good, my consort, or else I'll have another life on my hands. Furious, I slapped him and pointed at the door, shouting for him to get out. After he left, I curled up under the covers, pouting and sighing. I don't think all of this is entirely my fault. Men fighting over beauty, shedding blood and losing lives. It's tragic, but it's those foolish men who can't help but fall for me. What can I do about it? Can I really be blamed for being born this beautiful and charming? I guess I'm just too kind-hearted to feel guilty about it. After all, beauties like me, gorgeous, kind-hearted, adorable, and blessed with a bodhisattva's compassion, are truly rare these days. I sighed softly. I shut myself in my room for several days, tinkering away, and finally finished the hairpins just before the two little ones' birthdays. The pear blossom design was petite, not exquisitely crafted, but made with heartfelt sincerity. The manor had already prepared a banquet table. The girl wore a bright red velvet flower in her hair, light makeup on her face, and a vermilion dot graced the center of her forehead. The boy, as mature, looking as ever, had changed into a new python robe, with a delicate jade belt fastened at his waist. He casually spun around in front of me, and upon receiving my praise, a faint smile finally appeared on his little face. I took out the peachwood hairpins and gently placed them in their hair. The two little ones beamed with joy. That's more like it. I patted the boy's head, looking at his youthful face with heartfelt warmth. You're still so young. You should play more and laugh more. Studying all day long is too hard a life. Your son does not find it hard. Royal father says only by studying more can I protect mother and my sister in the future. Hunger touched the hairpin on his head, his voice soft yet firm. Your son wishes to grow up quickly, to share the burdens of royal father and mother. I froze, turning to look at ENG beside me. I noticed he had changed clothes today as well. A white robe embroidered with golden python patterns, his striking features appearing enchantingly alluring in the dim light. I heard from the palace maids that in the past, I paid little attention to the two children, and all their daily needs were managed by ENG. The dignified regent prince acted as both father and mother. Many officials urged him to divorce me and remarry, or take a concubine from a good family, but he paid them no heed. I waved my hand, calling my two treasures over. The birthday gifts I prepared were 2 sets of scholar's treasures, fine hui inkstones and brushes suited to their size. A thoughtful choice indeed. Under the bright moonlight, the shadow of the Bodhi tree, a family of 4. My eyes suddenly stung with unshed tears. After 3 rounds of drinks, ENG excused himself to attend to matters, Shinger gazed at his retreating figure and murmured, "Today is the happiest birthday Shinger and brother have ever had. Even if mother leaves someday, with this birthday memory, Shinger won't feel lonely anymore." Why would you say such a thing out of nowhere? I looked up in confusion, hearing Hunger's soft voice. "Does mother wish to leave royal father?" He raised his eyes to look at me, expression serious. "If you do, my sister and I can help you. We can pretend to be ill, delay royal father for you, and give you time to leave the city." So shocked that my hand slipped, shattering the wine cup beside me. All drunkenness vanished in an instant. In the past, mother was never happy in the royal manor. Shinger's eyes reddened as she threw herself into my arms, speaking with grave sincerity. "We all wish mother to be happy, even if not by royal fathers, brothers, or Shinger's side. I know mother doesn't like us. Thank you for everything during this time." Her voice was very soft, slightly hoarse, carrying a sorrow uncharacteristic of a 5-year-old. At that moment, I realized they, like E&G, never believed in my amnesia, a new escape tactic, a vicious and cruel deception, yet they still wished for my happiness. They wanted their mother to be joyful. I stayed silent, lifting Hunger onto my other knee, holding one child on each side. Leaning down, I gently kissed both precious ones. "Mother won't leave. And also, my darlings, mother loves you deeply. No matter what happens between me and your royal father, it will never change my love for you. About the past, mother has forgotten. Here, I apologize to my two treasures. Forgive mother, all right?" Both children froze in surprise. A child with no one to comfort them must still find strength. Once someone comforts you, you can't help but pour out your grievances. Hunger held back a bit more, trying to maintain his boyish dignity and not lose composure. Shinger burst into tears outright. "Why doesn't mother like us? Even though we're so well behaved at school, all the other children have clothes made by their mothers. But brother and I don't, and we don't get any snacks prepared by mother either. She won't even come for our birthdays. Brother and I dressed up so carefully that day, but mother didn't want to see us." Hot tears fell on their laps and chests, accompanied by the children's choked, sorrowful sobs. My heart was breaking. I held them close, comforting them endlessly, crying along with them. The bright moonlight shone on the bluestone, paved ground. Exhausted from crying, the two children fell asleep in my arms, clinging to my arms. My body was a bit stiff. I shook my head and looked up. I saw E&G standing in the shadows by the moon gate, hands clasped behind his back, gazing down at me with cold attachment, his expression unreadable. I had no idea how long he'd been watching. I couldn't fathom what he was thinking. He was the one who forced me to bear his child. All these years, I've suffered. The child has suffered. And has he truly been any better off? After finishing my bath, I emerged to find E&G lounging on the couch in his white sleeping robes, one leg propped up lazily as he stared blankly at the golden canopy overhead. Drying my hair, I walked over and sat beside his legs, hesitating for a moment. I poked him and asked, "After all these years of snatching me away and living this chaotic life, do you regret it?" He chuckled softly, reached out to lift me onto his lap, his arms wrapped around my waist, burying his face in the crook of my neck. Taking a deep breath, he murmured to himself, "When I learned you had married, I was still at the Northern Frontier Camp, fresh from a major victory. At that moment, what did I feel? Ching-ching, you will never understand." While everyone around me was cheering, rejoicing, and dancing, my heart felt so cold, as if a gaping hole had been torn through it, letting icy winds howl through. I thought, "I am going to lose you." Right then, I swore that if I could return alive, I would seize you and bring you home. Even if I couldn't win your heart, I would keep you by my side. The thought of you being tender and affectionate with another man drives me to madness. I couldn't help but flay that man alive, piece by piece, right before your eyes. His gaze was fierce and ruthless. I closed my eyes, feeling a wave of sorrow. My family has been scholars for generations. Even our dogs were raised on literature, never having seen bloodshed. Yet here in your regent prince's mansion, I've been burdened with so many sins. My tone was filled with sorrow. But there's one thing I dare not say. I actually felt relieved that Ji Yen, this madman, despite killing so many men connected to me, never raised his blade against my family. A while ago, I went home to visit my parents and elder brother. Father had aged, his temples and beard now white. The stern face that once ordered me to kneel in the ancestral hall was now etched with wrinkles, softened by a touch of kindness and tenderness. They all urged me to stop making a fuss. The Shui family had received great favor from the regent prince, rising swiftly in the court. I already had 2 children, his only heirs. What more could I possibly want? Ji Yan's body froze. After a long pause, he whispered, "I'm sorry. If given another chance, I wouldn't use such extreme methods again. If the story hadn't begun so tragically, could we have had a different ending? No one knows." He only regretted it a little. After all, he had endured the wretched cold palace, fought on battlefields littered with corpses, and seen more dead than I had living. Rules and royal decrees meant nothing to him. Now, his regret stemmed only from realizing how deeply it bothered me. I didn't kill that many people. He gripped my fingers, explaining with all his strength. It's just that at the very beginning, due to the poison and my madness, I couldn't restrain myself. And at that time, you were so determined to leave, ignoring me entirely. So all right, stop talking. I covered his mouth, saying wearily and helplessly, "As long as you don't kill anyone from now on." "No, as long as you don't kill people out of senseless jealousy. I suppose it's fine. What else can I do? Call me despicable or cowardly if you will. I can't bear to part with Hunger and Shinger, nor can I give up the wealth and status of the regent prince's mansion. I don't want to die. I want to live well, to enjoy a good life, to become the most esteemed woman in the world, to possess all the glory and riches this world has to offer." On the day of the Mid-Autumn Festival, the emperor died suddenly. Many people came and went from the regent prince's mansion, all clad in armor, imposing and solemn. The 2 children were also brought to my courtyard, leaning over the study room desk, reading storybooks. The already small courtyard was tightly surrounded by hundreds of imperial guards. I sat on the divan, feeling my heart about to leap out of my chest. Victory or defeat, life or death, all hinged on this single night. Whether I could become empress, no, whether I could even survive, depended entirely on tonight. That night, I sat by the bed, watching my 2 sleeping children, eyes open until dawn. I couldn't sleep. I suddenly longed to see Eng, though he too was a fearsome presence. Being near him felt like protection against all evils. No scheme or plot could touch me then. At dawn the next day, a eunuch in crimson robes arrived beaming, announcing he had come to escort the empress, the crown prince, and the princess into the palace. The matron was also grinning from ear to ear, yet out of courtesy, engaged in polite refusals with the eunuch. His Majesty has not yet formally appointed an empress or crown prince. My lady dare not presume such honors. Why ever not? The eunuch fawned with a sycophantic smile. Who in the capital doesn't know of His Majesty's profound devotion to the Empress? The throne belongs to her and no other. The entire room of palace maids and eunuchs were all beaming with smiles. With their master proving capable, they could stand tall and look forward to a bright future. How could they not smile? Dressed in my gown with sleeves tucked, I stood outside the carriage, watching the palace staff bustling about moving belongings. Quinn slipped out stealthily, came to my side, and knelt down to plead. "Miss, please take me into the palace with you. This servant doesn't wish to be left behind in this regent prince's mansion." After sensing her disloyalty that day, I had transferred her to outer court duties, intending to have a proper talk with her once I regained some memories. After all, Quinn grew up with me since childhood. Our bond was different from that with other maids. Today, she wore the pale pink dress I gave her, with a begonia hairpin I handmade as her birthday gift tucked in her hair. Her eyes glistened with unshed tears, red-rimmed as she gazed at me, much like the little girl who once sneaked candies with me in our youth. I sighed. "You may follow." Quinn happily wiped away her tears. The matron disapproved. Your Highness, that girl has ill intentions and may pose a threat to you. Over these 10 years, few of my old retainers remain. She is the only one left. I cannot bear to abandon her. I sighed wistfully. She knows no martial arts. Have the hidden guards keep a discreet watch from afar. That is all. Once we enter the palace, I will speak with her properly and find her a suitable placement. Set your mind at ease, matron. As I insisted, the matron ceased her objections. Inside the carriage, both children were unusually quiet. Shinger had been enthralled by storybooks last night and now clung to 2 unfinished tales, utterly captivated by the romances of scholars and beauties. Hunger tried to snatch the storybook from her hands. He couldn't understand why his sister was so enamored with tales of noble ladies falling for stable boys, even eloping against all odds. His youthful face clouded with concern as he sternly threatened, "If you don't hand it over, I'll tell royal father you want to elope with a stable boy." Shinger showed no fear, clutching the storybook tightly and refusing to let go. These were Mother's books. Mother didn't even look at them before eloping with the stable hand. So why would I? Brother is being so unreasonable. Hunger froze, giving me a pitiful glance, looking as if he wanted to speak but didn't dare. He crossed his arms and pouted angrily, saying nothing more. I licked my lips, coaxed those misleading storybooks out of Shinger's hands, and said with an awkward laugh, "These really aren't suitable. Don't read them. Mother will find you some other books to read. Okay, sweetie, be good." It just occurred to me now. When I was little, the family strictly forbade me from reading these wanton tales of scholars and beauties. Now that I'm grown, I don't see much harm in them, but Shinger is still young. If she really develops a fondness for stable hands, I'll probably get an earful from E&G. I clutched my chest, feeling rather apprehensive, still feeling relieved that those collector's editions Spring Palace pictures were well hidden and not discovered by the 2 children. Otherwise, E&G would probably actually kill me. The carriage drove straight to Jiafeng Hall. Supported by the matron, I stepped down and gazed upon the golden roofs and vermilion walls before me, where glazed tiles shimmered under the sun, and the ornate eaves and brackets stretched out like claws, exuding an aura of nobility and extravagance at every turn. Once, as a daughter of an esteemed scholarly family, I had knelt and prostrated myself outside these very halls. But now, I was about to become the mistress of this palace, receiving the greetings of consorts and noble women, such prestige and grandeur. A surge of excitement stirred within me, my heart racing. I silently pressed a hand to my chest, took a deep breath, and forced myself to calm down. Just as I was about to step inside, I heard Quinn calling out anxiously from not far away. "Miss," she tried to approach me, but was stopped by the Imperial Guard. I allowed her to come forward, and seeing the sweat beading on her anxious face, I asked puzzledly, "What is the matter, miss?" She looked up at me with earnest eyes. In the next instant, a dagger suddenly appeared from her sleeve, her gaze turning fierce as she strode forward and pressed the blade against my neck. "Bring E&G here." She glared fiercely at the stunned crowd, tightening her grip as the dagger drew a line of blood across my neck. "Otherwise, I'll kill her." The moment I was taken hostage, I sensed this person wasn't Quinn. Her hands were larger, rougher, with thick calluses at the base of her thumb, clearly shaped by long years of martial training. My heart pounded wildly. Not far away, the 2 children stared in wide-eyed terror. Hunger took a step forward, clenching his fists as if to speak, but was pulled back by the shadow guard who shook his head. The boy lowered his eyes dejectedly, his usually precocious face now clouded with sorrow. He felt he was still too young, unable to protect those he wished to shield. The clatter of armor echoed from the entrance as E&G hurried in, followed by generals in crimson officials' robes, all his trusted commanders. His gaze lingered on the trail of blood staining my pale neck before he asked in a low voice, "What do you want?" The assassin laughed, tilting his chin up and pointing viciously at E&G's sword, saying with malice and ferocity, "Use your own sword to kill yourself. Trade your life for hers. Everyone present was stunned, followed by a deathly silence. Whether palace attendants or the civil and military officials following ENG, they all turned away, reluctantly, their gazes tinged with pity as they looked at me. They didn't believe ENG would die for a woman. She's just a woman. After all, he's about to ascend the throne, with 3,000 beauties at his fingertips. Why would he abandon the empire he painstakingly schemed for, all for one woman? Truth be told, I thought the same. Beauty may easily win love, but even the deepest affection pales in comparison to one's life. Just like those suitors, if they knew loving me would cost them their lives, they'd surely stay far away, not taking a single step closer. I just felt a bit of regret. My gaze turned to my two exquisitely beautiful children, staring at them greedily and longingly for a long while, silently apologizing in my heart. I'm sorry, my darlings. Mother won't be able to watch you grow up. Unexpectedly, ENG drew his blade. The edge gleamed coldly against the glazed tiles. Stained with unwashed blood and notched from hacking through bone, he glanced at me, eyes bloodshot from a sleepless night, his stubbled face weathered as he gazed with a mix of resignation and resolve. At first, I didn't understand his intention until he pointed the blade at his abdomen and drove it straight in, unflinching, without hesitation. ENG, royal father. My limbs turned ice, cold, my body rigid. The very air seemed to freeze, leaving only the sight of the blade sinking deeper. The assassin watched intently, arm trembling around the dagger, nearly buckling with exhilaration. Swish, a rain of arrows tore through the sky. They struck the assassin's arm, eye, and skull. I was yanked away by hidden guards who materialized from nowhere. The assassin, too agitated to remain vigilant, was riddled with arrows by the furious Imperial Guard enraged by their lord's injury. Reduced to a pulp, ENG's blade had only pierced halfway, yet his condition remained dire. The blade was too broad, wounding nearly half his abdomen. He staggered and collapsed onto his subordinate, vomiting a great mouthful of blood. The subordinate and crimson official's robe shot me a grief-stricken, resentful glance, clearly blaming the beautiful disaster, but not daring to speak, before rushing about to summon the imperial physician or fetch ginseng and medicines. I stood unsteadily amid the crowd, dazed and bewildered. Empress, the melancholic steward who had grown up with ENG, gently took my arm. His Majesty is still being treated. Please come with me to see him. ENG remained unconscious. Bowl after bowl of ginseng soup was forced down his throat, yet his pale face showed no sign of color, almost devoid of life. Sitting 3 zhang away from the bed, Uncle Zhou fingered his prayer beads and recounted many things to me in a rambling manner. He said that in the first year ENG was confined to the cold palace, he contracted the plague from a teacup maliciously sent by Consort Shu. It was I who pleaded before the Empress Dowager to summon an imperial physician for him, saving his life. He said that during a palace banquet, ENG was falsely accused of poisoning and made to kneel on the freezing snow in the harsh winter. It was I who pulled him up and went before the Empress Dowager to seek justice for him. Your ladyship may have forgotten all these things. I truly had forgotten. Drooping my head, I absently touched the teacup, uncharacteristically flustered. These were all trivial matters. Your ladyship is too kind-hearted, having helped too many people, so naturally you wouldn't remember these things. But His Majesty has not forgotten, nor can he forget. He looked toward the cold, motionless ENG on the bed, who resembled a corpse, and said softly, all these years, His Majesty has survived life and death battles, from the cold palace to the northern frontier, fighting his way back to become the regent prince who holds sway over the court, all by clinging to his memories of you, my lady. He has always remembered that he owes you many lives. My head drooped even lower, my fingers twisting anxiously. I felt deeply guilty. I truly forgot these things and never considered them significant. It was just lending a hand, something I'm used to doing, accustomed to leaving kindness everywhere and spreading my saintly radiance far and wide. Such trivial matters aren't worth remembering for so long, nor do they deserve his intense, obsessive, almost maddening affection. Honestly, I feel a bit unworthy, but then again, after all the trouble he's caused me, isn't it only right that he loves me a little more? Finally, Uncle Joe knelt down and said to me, voice choked with emotion, since His Majesty was confined to the cold palace as a child, his mind has been unstable, afflicted by a goo poison. He often suffers headaches and fits of madness, leading him to commit many wrongs. Every single point is indisputable, but I beg your highness to take pity on him, considering his miserable childhood and his sincere devotion to you. He looked up at me, speaking earnestly and solemnly. Your highness, without your guidance, His Majesty will surely become a tyrant in the future, and the fate of the dynasty is at stake. The families of countless court officials, the lives of tens of thousands of common people, all rest in your hands. Your highness, I implore you. He knelt heavily and kowtowed. Flustered, I helped him up but felt a wave of helplessness. I had never encountered such an obsessive temperament, nor such unwavering love. How did I ever get entangled with such a madman? The imperial physician said is not in mortal danger, but his body will be very fragile from now on. He must be carefully nursed and must never be angered. The candlelight flickered by the dragon bed in Jiang Hall. With my two little ones, I propped my arms on the bed, chatting while waiting for him to wake up. Mother, in yesterday's storybook, was that horse groom very handsome? Why did the princess fall for him? Xinger is a princess too. Can she also like the horse groom? Me. Hunger irritably flicked his sister's forehead and said angrily, if you dare like the horse groom, I'll break your legs. Brother is so unreasonable. I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. No more reading those things from now on. Mother, do you like Father Emperor? Xinger asked with sparkling eyes. Like how a princess likes a horse groom, enough to willingly elope. Me. Could we please stop mentioning the horse groom? What elopement? A hoarse voice came through, turning my head. Had opened his eyes still bloodshot, lips cracked and bleeding. I hurried to pour him some water. Xinger cheered excitedly, climbing over to Father Emperor's side, saying, it's about a princess and a horse groom eloping, because they like each other, just like Father Emperor and Mother Empress. My hand trembled while pouring the water. Turning around, I indeed saw G's deep, penetrating gaze, and the faint, elusive smile at the corner of his lips. He gently stroked our daughter's hair bun and asked in a measured tone, Princess, and the horse slave? Which blind fool dared to speak such things in front of you? Xinger replied innocently, it was from the books at Mother's place. I rushed over immediately to cover her mouth. With an awkward laugh, I handed her to the palace maid, coaxed her a bit, and told her to go back to sleep with her brother. Hunger stood not far away, watching me, shaking his head and sighing, giving me a look that said, you're on your own. Once the children had all left, I brought a cup of water to fed him a sip, and casually brought up other topics, hoping to steer the conversation away from the horse-slave matter. Suddenly, pressed me down onto the bed. Through my clothes, he gave me 2 light spanks on the bottom. It's one thing for you to indulge in those frivolous distractions yourself, but how could you let the children see them? My face flushed with embarrassment. I wanted to argue but held back, mindful of his injuries. Blushing, I stood up and checked his wound, relieved to see it wasn't bleeding. Uncle Joe said that without me, would have become a tyrant who delighted in killing. I believed it, and it gave me a sense of pride, like I was some savior, always feeling rather pleased with myself, thinking I had the upper hand over and could boss him around as I pleased. But now, facing him for real, I shrank like a quail, not even daring to lift my head. Sitting by the bed, twisting my fingers, I suddenly felt the atmosphere was too quiet. It felt awkward, and I couldn't bring myself to look at him. Strange, back when I first had amnesia, even though we weren't close, I could flirt with him without a second thought. Now, I couldn't even speak comfortably. I subtly adjusted my clothes, straightened the crooked crabapple hairpin, and unconsciously turned my best side profile toward him. Then, I stole a sidelong glance his way. I saw him staring intently at me, his dark eyes full of focus and seriousness. My cheeks flushed even redder. Oh my, you should rest properly. Why are you staring at me? I know I'm good looking, but you can't just keep gazing at me like that. He hesitated for a moment before asking me, why were you squirming earlier? Do you have heat rash? Do you need some jade ointment? Me, clueless fool. Go ahead and stay single for life then. Quinn's body was discovered in the outskirts of the capital, feeling somewhat heavy-hearted. I went to the temple to set up a memorial tablet for Quinn and lit incense. I also donated a substantial amount for incense, and even reserved a temple hall to enshrine numerous unnamed tablets, hoping to make amends for E&G's killings. Amid the slowly rising smoke, I kowtowed 3 times and said guiltily in my heart, I'm sorry. In my next life, I'll work like an ox or horse to repay you with my life. Call me selfish or morally corrupt if you will, but I just want to live my good life and become the majestic empress. I can't leave E&G anymore, whether for our child, for power, or for that faint, indescribable joy in my heart. I can't be without him, because I didn't want to leave. Even when he committed the most inhuman acts, I would find excuses to justify them for him. I am just that kind of vain and wicked person. When leaving, the abbot of the temple handed me a string of blessed prayer beads and chanted some unknown sutra over me for a long time. In the carriage back to the palace, I drowsily leaned against the wall and fell asleep, my mind hazy and blurred amidst the lingering scent of sandalwood incense. I fell seriously ill, a high fever persisted, and I remained unconscious for 5 days. E&G suspended court for several days, kneeling by my bedside to watch over me, his expression growing increasingly agitated, gradually revealing the nature of a tyrant. Ministers who came for an audience were dragged out and beaten with boards. Imperial physicians who couldn't diagnose the illness were thrown into prison. His eyes bloodshot, he knelt by my bed, choking back sobs as he begged me, my love, please wake up, won't you? Don't scare me like this. I truly can't bear it. I feel like killing someone. In my half-dreaming state, I remembered many things. I remembered that mad, tormented woman who would rather torture herself to a skeleton than yield to E&G. She shook my shoulders frantically, asking me in a broken, suffocated voice, are you going to betray the pain you once endured? So many lives, such profound suffering. How can you forget it all? How can you face your own conscience? But what else can I do? Hugging my knees, curled up on the ground, I murmured softly, I don't want to die. I don't want to suffer like that anymore. I don't want to live every day, drowning in guilt and torment. If being a villain means I can live happily, then what's so wrong with being one? My 2 precious ones need me. They love me deeply. The Empress's robes are exquisite. Her jewels are noble. When hundreds of noble women kneel before me, even the once arrogant princess who looked down on me must bow at my feet. My father is a marquis and chancellor. My brother holds a 3rd rank official post. My family is the envy of the entire capital. What reason do I have to change any of this? Once again, I convinced myself. I raised my eyes and shouted at her. Do you think torturing yourself, tormenting your child, and making everyone around you suffer is the only way to clear your conscience? The skeleton, like woman, shook her head wildly, grinning hideously. She is me, yet not me. She witnessed E&G's cruelty, saw those bloody massacres, and beheld those strings of crimson eyeballs. Hearing about it is different from seeing it with your own eyes. If E&G were to kill innocent people before me again, I too would become as desperate and deranged as her. But all of that, I want to forget entirely. Since it's forgotten, let it be forgotten forever. Life is short. I only want to be true to myself. After waking, I immediately followed Zhou Shu's advice and had E&G release all the imperial physicians who suffered unjustly, bestowing gold and silver to console them properly. All officials who were unjustly caned were granted 100 taels of gold as compensation. After this incident, those officials who used a petition daily urging E&G to select consorts to enrich the harem and those ministers who cursed me as a seductive fox spirit corrupting the court, all wisely fell silent. Instead, whenever trouble arose, they would send messages to Jiafeng Hall. It often went like this. In the Golden Hall, Ji would be furious, just about to order the Imperial Guard to drag away and execute the petitioning official when the Empress has arrived. Thus, those courtiers who once denounced me as a kingdom, toppling beauty, now begged heaven and earth, praying for my health and long life, at least longer than that hellish emperor. When I fell ill, they were terrified out of their wits, sending a continuous stream of ginseng and deer antlers into the palace. The temples outside the capital were filled with officials' families, all devoutly praying for the Empress's health and eternal blessings. Once, an ignorant official petitioned for the emperor to expand the harem before the memorial could reach the central secretariat. It was intercepted by handling officials, who caught and gave that official a sound thrashing. The man protested indignantly, "Your Majesty has only the crown prince as your son. Having so few heirs simply won't do." Everyone found this reasoning sound, so they collectively approached my father, urging my mother to enter the palace and subtly persuade me to have another child. Dressed in my phoenix robe, I smiled faintly. Another child? Ji could never father another child again, for shortly after being forced to give birth to Hunger and Shinger, I had secretly administered an infertility potion to him. He might have known, or he might not. I didn't care either way. Empress Dowager. Step by step, I would ascend to the pinnacle of power attainable for women in this world. After all, I had betrayed my conscience and sold my pure soul. Surely I deserved some reward, didn't I?